Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Taste of Faith Part 2. Today, I want us to illustrate more about miracle happened in the Bible where faith was tested prior miracle. So, obedience precedes miracle, and faith requires obedience. With that being said, there's no miracle without faith and obedience. So, if you lack these two, it's really pretty hard to get a miracle. So, you need faith and obedience. So, the first one is about feeding of 5,000 men with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. Just 5 loaves of bread with 2 fishes, guys. This miracle occurred in the verses that I've mentioned here. And in this miracle, I just saw how Jesus tested the disciple faith. He asked them, "We need to feed these people." And they said, "We just have 5 loaves of bread with 2 fishes," which means they only had that insignificant amount of food to feed 5,000 men without counting women and kids. So they thought they had just little to feed these people. But again, Jesus asking that, it doesn't mean he wasn't aware of the number that were present. He knew everything. He just wanted to see if their faith was high enough to respond quickly to that. And they brought it because they knew Jesus was able to do anything. So when they brought it, he said the prayer, and we all know the story how 5,000 men were fed. And to add on that, not only they were fed, they had leftover. They had to pack 12, not just two, 12 pack of leftover for each tribe. That 12 represented each tribe. So they were fed and they had enough. They had leftover because you can just misuse what you receive. So Jesus asked them to gather every leftover and they had 12 pack. Secondly, we have the miracle, which is the encounter between Jesus and the Samaritan woman, which is mentioned in the verse below. So John 4, 5 to 30. And John 4, 9 says, "We are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask for a drink?" She asked this because they had some racial and religious prejudice, which was a big prejudice between them. That's why it was quite surprising for Jesus to ask that woman. But with God, there's no such a thing as religious, racial issues because He's a unique God and He's for everyone. So this woman, of course, it was normal for her to ask that question, but for God, we can't question God. He only asked a drink. He only asked one thing, but it was a bit tempting for this woman because it was something that she could not do because of their racial and religious issues. But when Jesus said, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is asking you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you the living water." When she heard this, she immediately obeyed. She obeyed and she gave her life to Christ. But before that, she questioned God and she brought up excuses. The first excuse was like, "You have nothing to draw with and the well is deep." See, that was one of her excuses. And she said, "You are great than our father Jacob." She started questioning Jesus. Are you actually greater than what I know? Questioning Jesus because it's not her fault because she did not know who this man was. For her, it was just another Jewish man asking her for water, but she didn't know it was the Messiah. She didn't know he was the Christ. The interesting part is what Jesus tells her. He says, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drink the water that I give, they will never be thirsty again." He gives life. He gives life literally. So the last example is about the servants at the wedding of Cana, where Jesus performed his first miracle, where he changed water into wine, and it's mentioned in John chapter 2. The servants were obedient enough to Mother Mary. Mother Mary told them, "Just do everything that we ask you to do," and that's what they did. And guess what? They obeyed and a miracle happened. So the takeaway of this video is that obedience precedes miracle. And when your faith is being tested, you require more obedience because you can't get your miracle if you don't have strong faith. If you have, you require more faith to be obedient. And to be obedient will bring you a miracle, will bring you to your miracle. That's it, guys. See you next Thursday.